My whole life I gave, I loved, I sacrificed. But now, in the twilight of my years, the people I trusted the most, my own son John and his wife Emma, have only taken from me. I gave them everything, but they left me alone to face the end. And now, they think they can take it all. Well, they have no idea what's coming next. Stick around to hear the truth. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters here. The soft ticking of the clock on the wall is the only sound that fills the room. It's a reminder of the time I've spent, the time I have left, and the time that was taken from me. I've lived through decades of joy and pain, sacrifice and love, always giving without hesitation. I've raised a son who I thought would be my legacy, my one true reward for all those sleepless nights and sacrifices. But the reality, now that I'm facing the end, is not what I imagined. I am Eleanor, a woman in her 80s facing the quiet storm of cancer that has slowly taken over my body. It's a battle I'm losing, but it's not the disease that's breaking my heart. No, it's the betrayal that cuts deeper than any illness ever could. I sit here in the home I once filled with love and laughter, and I realize that the people who should have been here for me, my son, John, and his wife, Emma, are the ones who have taken it all. I raised John alone after my husband passed away. He was just a boy when his father left us, and I became both mother and father to him. I worked 2 jobs to make sure he had everything he needed, everything I never had. My hands were always tired, my heart always full of worry for his future, but I never once hesitated to give him everything. I gave him my time, my energy, my love, and in return, I thought one day, he'd take care of me the way I had taken care of him. But what I never saw coming was that instead of gratitude, my love was used. Instead of care, I was exploited. John, the very son I raised, has only seen me as a means to an end. And his wife, Emma, oh, she's no better. Together they have manipulated me, taken advantage of my trust, and left me to face the final years of my life alone. I have nothing left to give, and yet they are still waiting for more. And now, with the end nearing, they believe they will inherit everything I've worked for, everything I've built. But what they don't know is that I've had enough. I'm done being the pawn in their game. They may think they've won, but they haven't seen the last of me. So stay with me, dear reader, as I tell you the story. The truth you're about to hear is one I've kept buried for far too long. A truth about family, about betrayal, and about what happens when a mother finally realizes she has nothing left to lose. But before we get into it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you've ever felt the way I have, if you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved. Your voice matters. After all, we've all got stories to tell, and mine is one you won't forget. I spent years of my life working tirelessly for my son, John. After his father passed, I became both mother and father to him. I worked 2 jobs, sacrificed my health, and spent countless nights awake worrying about his future. He was my world, my reason for waking up each day. Everything I did was for him. I thought that when I grew old, he would be there to take care of me the way I had taken care of him. But over the years, I began to see the truth, a truth I wasn't ready to face. John's neglect was slow at first. He would visit once in a while, but the visits became less frequent, the phone calls less meaningful. His life was moving forward, and mine was slowly slipping away. But the worst part? The moment I realized how little he actually cared for me. I had spent years pouring myself into him, and now he barely even acknowledged my existence. I should have seen the signs sooner. When I needed him, he was nowhere to be found. When I was too tired to care for myself, he was too busy to care for me. Emma, his wife, was no better. I had always tried to make her feel welcome, to embrace her as my own. I thought she would be my ally, my daughter-in-law, who would help share the load. But instead, she played the role of the caring wife when it suited her. When John was around, she smiled sweetly and acted like everything was fine. But behind that smile, I could see the coldness. She never visited unless she needed something, a signature here, a check there. I was just a tool for them to use when it was convenient. They never once asked how I was doing or if I needed anything. They only came when they wanted something from me. One of the hardest moments came on Mother's Day. I had been planning for weeks, preparing a meal that I thought would bring us together. I spent 3 full days in the kitchen, cooking everything John and Emma loved: roast chicken, fresh rolls, homemade pies. I decorated the table beautifully, lit the candles, and waited. I imagined the smiles, the laughter, the warmth of family, but as the hours passed and the sun began to set, there was nothing. No knocks on the door, no phone calls, no sign of them at all. I tried calling John, but every time it went to voicemail. I called Emma next, hoping for some explanation. Maybe they had been running late. But no, her text response was cold and dismissive. "We're too busy, sorry. Haj, you're perfect family." They were at a resort, posting photos of themselves smiling, living their perfect life, while I sat there alone in the house I had spent so many years building, waiting for them. The hurt was unbearable. I wanted to believe it was an accident, but deep down, I knew better. They didn't care. They never did. I was nothing more than a means to an end for them, someone who could provide for them when they needed something. As the evening wore on, I sat at the table staring at the untouched meal I had prepared. The silence in the house was deafening. I didn't even want to eat. I couldn't. What was the point? They had left me alone again, just like they always did. And the worst part? I had spent so much time hoping that maybe this year would be different. Maybe this time, they would show up and show me some love, some gratitude for all that I had done for them. But no, they didn't even have the decency to tell me the truth. That night, something inside me snapped. I realized that they didn't see me as a mother, a person. They saw me as a tool they could use for their own gain, to get what they wanted. All the years of giving, all the sleepless nights, all the sacrifices, I was just a stepping stone in their path. And that, more than the emptiness I felt in my heart, hurt the most. But that's when I made a decision. I was done. I refused to die quietly. I wasn't going to let them continue manipulating me, using me for what I had left. I had spent too much of my life giving and never asking for anything in return. But now, it was time to take back control, even if it was the last thing I did. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me anymore. I began paying closer attention to the things they did or didn't do. It didn't take long to uncover what I had been blind to for so long. John had been selling my properties behind my back, forging my signature, draining my savings. For years, I had trusted him to manage my finances, believing he would look after me in my old age. Instead, he had been using me, taking everything I worked so hard for. And Emma? She was in on it the entire time. The woman I had welcomed into my home, the one I had treated like family, had been helping John every step of the way. They had been stealing from me piece by piece until there was nothing left. I sat there, staring at the documents, the evidence of their betrayal, my hands trembling. My mind was racing. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The shock of it all hit me harder than the cancer ever had. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted them? But the realization brought clarity. I was not powerless. I still had time to fight for what was mine, time to make them pay for what they had done. I wasn't going to let them destroy everything I had worked for. I may have been losing my health, but I still had my mind. And I wasn't going to let them take that from me, too. This was my turning point. I wasn't going to be their victim anymore. I was going to take control of my life and my future. They thought I was weak, that I would let them have everything without a fight. Well, they were wrong. I wasn't just going to sit back and let them get away with it. I was going to make them regret ever thinking they could use me. It was time for me to take action, no matter how much time I had left. The emotional devastation of Eleanor's realization sets the stage for her transformation. Her betrayal by John and Emma is not just a financial violation, but a deep emotional wound that propels her into action. She recognizes that she can no longer sit idly by and let them manipulate her. Instead, she decides to take back control of her life, marking a major shift in her perspective and setting the stage for what's to come next. Eleanor had spent weeks playing the frail, forgetful mother, pretending to lose her mind. John and Emma, eager to take advantage, thought they had her cornered. They believed she was too weak to fight back, but they were wrong. While they underestimated her, Eleanor quietly collected the evidence she needed to expose their betrayal. The tipping point came when Eleanor discovered that Emma had been switching her medications for placebos, trying to hasten her decline and secure her inheritance. The cruel realization hit hard, but it fueled her resolve to take action. She hired a private investigator to dig deeper into John's financial dealings. The investigator uncovered a web of fraud, including forged signatures and stolen properties. John and Emma had been siphoning off her wealth for years. Eleanor knew what she had to do. She rewrote her will, ensuring her assets would go to causes she cared about, not to the greedy hands of John and Emma. Then, she invited them to dinner under the pretense of making peace, but this was a trap. She spent hours preparing their favorite meal, knowing it would be the last time they would sit at her table. As they ate, Eleanor played the part of the confused, weak mother, fumbling with her words. Then she revealed the video, a recording of Emma's confession about the fraud, the manipulation, and their plan to hasten her death. John and Emma were frozen in shock as the truth unfolded before them. Before they could react, the sound of sirens filled the air. The police arrived and arrested John and Emma for fraud, theft, and conspiracy to harm Eleanor. Their faces showed panic, but Eleanor remained calm, watching them being escorted out of her home. She didn't feel joy, only peace. Justice had been served, and for the first time in years, she felt free. As I sit here reflecting on my life, I see the sacrifices I made. I spent years giving everything I had, my time, my energy, my love, to those I thought would care for me in return. I worked tirelessly for my son John, always believing that when I grew older, he would be the one to take care of me. I dedicated my life to my family, convinced that love and respect would follow. But now, with the truth laid bare before me, I realize how wrong I was. The pain of betrayal is a heavy burden to carry. John and Emma, the very people I trusted most, used me for their own gain. They drained me emotionally, physically, and financially, all while pretending to care. The hardest lesson I've learned is this: love and respect cannot be taken for granted. No matter how much you give, there will always be those who see you only as a means to an end, especially if you let them. I should have set boundaries long ago, should have protected myself and my legacy, but I didn't. I thought that by giving everything, I would receive the love and gratitude I deserved. Instead, I was left empty. But even in this pain, I have found clarity. I've learned that it's never too late to take control of your life. It's never too late to stand up for yourself, to protect your worth, and to ensure that your legacy is one of your choosing. I may be nearing the end of my journey, but the time I have left is mine to live as I see fit. I've reclaimed my power, no longer the victim. I made sure that John and Emma didn't get away with what they did. They thought I was weak, that I was too frail to fight back. But in the end, I was stronger than they ever realized. Looking to the future, I know that the assets I worked so hard for will go to those who truly care, not to those who saw me as a mere stepping stone. I've secured my legacy, and I've made sure that the last chapter of my life will be one I can hold my head high for. The betrayal has been painful, but it has also been a catalyst for change, a reminder that no one, no matter how close they may seem, should ever take your worth for granted. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: you have the power to take control of your life, no matter your age. Don't wait for others to decide your fate. Protect yourself, protect your legacy, and don't let anyone take what you've worked so hard for. You deserve that. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever faced something similar, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. Your voice matters, and you're not alone. This may be my story, but it could be yours too. Take control, protect yourself, and never let anyone take away what is rightfully yours.